it's not always a me and my business versus them and their business. The reality of competition is that it's a necessity. It's a necessity in so many different ways, especially in whatever industry you're in. You need there to be competition so that whatever you do is justified. Welcome back, regulars. It's appointment only, and your appointment starts now. I do think I like regulars. I like that. I like calling our listeners the regulars. It's sure easier than appointmenters. We gave that a try. Podsters, that's not going to work. Regulars is the move. And at this point, I'm sold on it. I am too. And, not that we're opposed to any new ideas, but we're not currently crowdsourcing new ideas. We're not currently taking recommendations. But if you have a recommendation, pass it on. But I think it's going to be regulars from here on out, just because I like it. It makes sense. It's easy to say, and we all are on the same page there. So thank you to all of you regulars who are tuning in week after week and for all the feedback we're getting. For those of you who are considering yourselves regulars, when I'm saying regular and you're saying that's me. That's me. Go ahead and if you haven't already, write us a great review. Tell us what you love about the podcast and rate us 5 stars. We'd really appreciate that. It would help the algorithm. It would help people who could use this podcast find us. The more positive ratings and reviews we have out there, the easier it is for the algorithm to push us to the right people who are looking for something like this. So I'm going to throw this out there. Let's hear it. I don't think that you can. I don't think that you can positively review us. Oh, nice. Reverse psychology. I don't think you're capable of it. I don't think so, guys. I don't think that review is going to be nice enough. Are you really sure? Are you really sure you can? So we'll see if that works. Mission accomplished. I think that'll be good. I appreciate those of you who have reviewed, by the way. But I know that most of you haven't. So not to name names or point fingers, but our experience, I'm looking at you. Our experience in business is that for every 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 15 people that we ask for a positive review actually writes it. For some reason this week, a couple of times, birthdays have come up. And it's not because it's my birthday. It's come up in conversation. We were talking with a friend of ours. It's because you got stoked and you were like, it's my birthday. It's my half birthday month. Come on. It's your birthday. It is my half birthday month, not to brag. But we were talking with a friend of ours this morning and I forgot his birthday, which was the end of last month. So I said, oh, happy birthday. I can't remember if you're 36 or 37. And he was like, yeah, honestly, I can't either. And isn't that the case? That was me too. I all of last year, because we're 37 now, or maybe the second half of last year, I thought I was 37. So when I was doing the math this year on our birthday, I realized that I gained a year. I actually didn't get older this year. I actually got younger this year. Benjamin Button style. Yeah, pretty amazing. We gained that year back. It is good. It's good to be aging in reverse. And we're also actually in the process, Danny and I, of a real life skincare trial, like a lifetime trial, because one of us has a skincare routine that he follows. Just say it's you. Well, I'm going to let them make the decision if they can tell on YouTube in the HD, the 4K. Can you tell which of us? Okay, guilty. Caught in 4K of not having a skincare routine. Yeah. So that's the trial because you've seen, I don't know, maybe you haven't seen them. I've seen these like side by sides of one of these twins is on meth and the other one isn't. Well, we're doing that too. And also that one. So if you can tell, I think the meth counteracts the skincare routine in that it helps with the skin. In that it doesn't, it counteracts it. Where you've got the skincare routine going, but your meth usage, no amount of retinol is going to offset meth. That's right. Is what you're saying. That's right. Well, that is true. But all that to say, I have a skincare routine. Danny, you've dabbled. I've had products before. Yeah. But you got to use the products. See, it's not just about listening to appointment only. It's about doing the things that are going to change your business. You got to actually do the action. You got to make the changes. You've got to make the changes for yourself. So it's not about buying a retinol. It's about using it more than once.
Okay.
So let that be a lesson to you. But we'll see. Fast forward 10, 15 years, we'll see who's looking young and who's looking like a Grandpa King over here. But we were talking about birthdays with this friend of ours, and we figured out he turned 37. We also got a text from a friend this week who wants to get together, and it's for his 40th birthday.
You're also making it sound like we have so many friends. Oh, just this friend we're
I heard
talking
from
to.
two people
over
this
here.
week.
We've got this friend over here.
I heard from two people this week, and that's two more than I ever hear from. Our circle is small and it's tight, and it's very, very common for weeks to go by without getting a single friend text. But this week we got two, and admittedly, they were listening to the podcast and wanted to say thanks, which I appreciate. But the other friend of ours turning 40 this week, and it's funny because I actually remember being at his 16th. We were at a lot of his birthdays, but I remember specifically the 16th birthday party because in the small town that we grew up in, you took your driver's test on your 16th birthday. You could not wait to get your license. And your 16th birthday, you got pulled out of school early. Your parents brought you to the license bureau. You did that driving test. And in our small town, it was about half and half. Half the time people would pass, half the time they would fail.
Let's just say the birthday parties took a little bit of a different vibe if they failed.
It did. And everyone was waiting at Josh's house, waiting for him to come in. We see him pull in. We're looking out. Is he smiling? Does it look like he's been crying? Because when you fail, it's a big deal.
In a small town, if you don't get your driver's license on your 16th birthday,
you have no independence.
Consider yourself imprisoned because you have no freedom anymore.
You're in prison in Wilmer, and it's your outlet to Spicer and St. Cloud.
That's right.
It's your road to St. Cloud. If you live in Wilmer, you need that driver's license. But I remember being at that birthday party specifically, and Josh did pass. I
don't think he did, but we'll have to ask him when we get together with him.
One other thing that I'll say about birthdays, and then we can actually talk about what we're here to talk about. I don't remember what I was doing, but I was signing up for something online. It was probably a trial subscription so that I could watch the rest of a season of a show. Isn't that the worst?
Yeah, the rest of the season available here. So you have to do like a week-long subscription and then put a calendar reminder in your phone to cancel that subscription.
But the only way you can cancel a subscription is by going to their desktop version.
Right.
You can't do it through the app.
That's right. Or you type it into your browser on your actual phone, flip your phone sideways and try to navigate it that way.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. But I was signing up for something and it was having me fill in my birthday, not just the day and the month, but also the year. And I was scrolling through and I was like, 88, there we go. I looked and it was set on 1888. Just think about that for 1 second.
They can probably pull all of the 1800s off of those scrollers.
I think we're safe. You can eliminate any 1800s. So you really think it's possible that someone who is 137 years old is signing up for MGM Plus on Amazon? I don't think so.
I wonder how far back those go. 1600s?
I think it was I don't know. I was pretty surprised I was in the 1800s. I'm not sure how that happened. We could start at the 1900s, I think.
I bet
at this point.
Even if somebody was reaching out to you wanting to work with you that was born in the 1800s, you probably wouldn't want to work with them anyway. They might be a little old.
They might be, and their carriage may be late.
It might not be worth. They might not fully understand what it is that you do. I'm just throwing that out there.
No offense to anyone listening to Appointment Only who was born in the 1800s.
I know there are some of you out there who are tuning in on a regular basis, and you were born in the 1800s, and we're not trying to be rude.
We're not. No, absolutely. What I will say about those of you maybe who aren't necessarily the target demo of the pod, I've heard from a number of you who are listening who are not small business owners, are not necessarily entrepreneurs, but are just in the business world, and you're finding that you are liking the podcast. So if that's you, we are so glad that you're here. We're glad you're a regular. We're happy to have this place for all of us to talk shop. Now today, what we're talking about is something that it doesn't matter where you fall on the entrepreneurship spectrum, small business ownership, what industry you're in, if you're an employee of a company. This is something that we all deal with.
I mean, even if you were born in the 1800s, you probably deal with this. We're talking about competitors today. And if you were born in the 1800s, you were probably like, oh, that blacksmith over there. Competition. Competitors.
And we're not talking about the Olympics. We're talking about your business competitors.
Although we could riff and talk about, some Olympic sports, but
I would have very little to add. I would be talking about the good old day. I would be talking about,
has anybody heard of Michael Phelps?
Tara Lipinski?
Tara Lipinski. That was like probably
everyone
my
had
first
a crush on her.
That was probably my first crush.
Everyone had a crush on Tara Lipinski.
I had a crush on Monica Lewinsky.
You're not the only one.
No, I said Monica Lewinsky, but I meant the other skater who hit the other one.
Tanya Harding.
Yeah, Tanya. I meant Tanya Harding.
Monica Lewinsky.
But I think the Lipinski, I was thinking
Lewinsky.
For some reason.
They're Eastern European last names. So
yeah,
that makes sense.
Oh boy.
But there's nothing that sounds like Tanya Harding.
But I also did not have a crush on Tanya Harding. I did have a crush on Tara Lipinski. Did not have a crush on Monica Lewinsky. But the Lipinski crew is what we're known as.
The Tara. No, I can't do it either.
Yeah,
that's tough.
It
doesn't lend itself well to a.
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
Nickname.
It doesn't roll off the tongue. But anyway,
we're not. Believe it or not, we're not talking about the Olympics. We're talking about competitors in business.
Competitors in business, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in. It doesn't matter what job you have within your organization. You have competitors, and there is time spent factoring that in and talking about strategy surrounding your competition, talking about crushing the competition or working alongside the competition. And you've got it. You've got competition, whether you like it or not.
There are a couple of overall mindsets as it relates to competition that I think are super unhelpful. And I just want to talk about those right away. And then we can get into a little bit more specifics. But I think one mindset that a lot of people adopt as it relates to their competitors is they pretend that they don't care, or they pretend they don't know who they are. Like, oh, who's that? That has happened to us, not recently, but it used to happen a lot. Where, do you remember when we were we were at a trade show and we were with our mentor Kingford, and we ran into someone else who was doing what we do in our city, and there were only like 6 of us, and everybody knew who everyone was. And Kingford was introducing us to this guy, and he was like, "And you are?
Yeah, who are you?
And what's the name of your company?" Just playing dumb. And I'm not going to even give him the benefit of the doubt, because he was very much playing dumb. He absolutely knew who we were. And I just thought, wow, that is so insulting, and that is so rude, and also really stupid, because I think it's a really bad idea to underestimate your competitors, because that's what happens. If you pretend they don't exist, if you pretend you don't know who they are, oh, I've never heard of them. Who's that? You know who does that is Mariah Carey. She always acts like she's never heard of anyone else. She's been in interviews and people are like, "What do you think of Lady Gaga?" And she's like, "Who?
Seriously?"
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. I've never heard of that.
It's crazy. It's crazy when people act like that. So when it happened to us, and that wasn't the only time that happened, by the way, but that's just the example that comes to mind. It is insulting and it's rude, but it's also really stupid for them, because you don't want to be caught in a situation where you're so busy pretending other people don't exist that you give them market positioning.
Well, and it says something negative about you if you're pretending like you're unaware of other people. It kind of gives off like this aloof mentality.
Yeah, it makes it seem like you have no idea what's going on, which is not good. So that's one, I think, unhealthy mindset as it relates towards competition. The other is the polar opposite, which is just a complete fixation on who your competitors are.
Everything you do is in response to things that your competition is doing.
And that has also shown itself.
Oh, yeah.
Over the years, we've watched people doing what we do in our market. And it's funny because we will put something out on our website and it doesn't take long before we start to notice, oh, they're either saying that exact same thing on their website, or they're saying the complete opposite of what we're saying on ours, on theirs, just basically trying to be the antithesis of everything we do. It's very reactionary. And most people probably don't notice, but
When you write the text, you notice.
when you write the text, you do notice. Yes. But I think both of those fixations, a fixation with pretending that you don't know what's going on or who anyone else is, or a hyperfixation on who everyone else is and what they're doing, neither of those is good. I do believe that there's a way to be a good competitor, both in the sense that you are a good competitor, respectful, level-headed, kind, full of integrity, but also a good competitor in that you're tough and you're tough competition.
And I think the idea of competition is it's not always a me and my business versus them and their business. The reality of competition is that it's a necessity. It's a necessity in so many different ways, especially in whatever industry you're in. You need there to be competition so that whatever you do is justified. Think about it in terms of a really nice hotel. If there was only one hotel in town, they wouldn't be able to charge more for offering a better experience to a guest. There would be one cost that the hotel in town gets to charge. Now, when you think about it in terms of hotels, for example, you have all the different star ratings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star hotels.
What would be a 1-star hotel?
I don't know. Super 8?
I don't think that's one. I'm going to look that
Maybe
up.
like a hostel?
What is a 1-star? Yeah, maybe a hostel hotel.
But
of 1-star would be breaking into someone's basement and spending the night on their couch.
But you need comps to justify whatever it is that you're doing, even in terms of homes, right? When you're going to sell your home, put it on the market, you look at the comps. Otherwise, who's to tell you that what you're wanting to charge or get for your house is even worth it? So this idea of competition is something that exists, and it's something that's needed. For us, we've mentioned many times before, our goal is to be a more expensive, higher end business that caters to that clientele. We need the low end in our industry to justify what we do in our job.
If we were the only people selling what we sell in our market and our prices were where they were at, it wouldn't make any sense to people.
Right.
That would not work. You need a variety of different people. People need to have a variety of different experiences, and they need to have options. Otherwise, what you're selling doesn't make any sense. It's like a steakhouse. If the only place you could ever go buy a steak was at the expensive steakhouse, let's think of a steakhouse that most listeners probably have been to or are at least aware of, like a Capital Grille, maybe.
Sure.
Like a chain or a Morton's, something like that, where it's a high-end steakhouse, and let's say a filet mignon is $80. If that was the only option in your town, that wouldn't really make any sense. So you do need Sizzler and you need Applebee's and you need Grizzly. You need all the different levels of all the different chains in order for that Morton's or Capital Grille steak to make any sense.
And like I said, our goal in business as we've been running ours is that we want to be seen as the high end, the most expensive, also providing the most value. But you also hear this idea in terms of competition as well. Don't be the most expensive house on the block. That makes sense, right? You don't want to be the most expensive house on the block. Well, guess what? Every single block has one.
Someone's got to be.
You need the most expensive house on the block to also justify what the lower priced homes are going for.
You probably have the most expensive house on your block.
I mean, I don't want to brag, but it's possible. It's possible.
Especially with that shiny new roof.
Oof, yeah, I mean, wealth whispers. Shh, don't tell anyone.
Don't
tell anyone.
Cat's out of the bag because I just acknowledged that you live on a block.
Don't tell anyone that I have the most expensive house. Wealth whispers.
You do though, I think probably, right?
It's among the more expensive, I would guess, just based on all the work that we've done to it.
Someone's got to be the most expensive.
Someone's got to do it. But all that to say, competition is healthy. It's good. And ultimately, we all need it in order to justify whatever it is that we do. If you're right in the middle of the road, price point wise, you need people up and down. Otherwise, you can't justify what you do.
So stop what you're doing. Well, maybe don't stop what you're doing if you're driving. You just keep going. But just pause for a second as you're thinking. I want you to actually think about who you would identify as your competitors. Because I am going to suggest something to you. I think you actually probably have fewer real competitors than you may think you do. Back when we were just getting started in our industry, for those of you who maybe haven't caught the last handful of episodes, we sell custom suits. Suit, S-U-I-T.
Not soup.
Suits that you wear, not soups that you eat. And when we were starting our custom suit business, we had it all wrong. We thought everyone that sold a suit of any level, at any price, in any area, to anyone was our arch nemesis. And they were taking who should be our clients from us. And it's funny to think back on that time because it's crazy, right? That's just so silly. And what a poverty-driven mindset that is, where you think that there's only so many people out there that want what you have to sell. And if somebody's eating a steak at Sizzler, then they're stealing business away from Capitol Grill. If someone bought a can of paint at Menards, they just stole a customer from Home Depot. That's not how it works, right? We all know that from, I think, a logical perspective. But when you're running a business and you take it very seriously, I do think the tendency most small business owners have is a very poverty-focused perspective, a lens of that person has that, and now I can't have that.
Yeah, it's looking at the pie chart from school as if that's your client base and there's only this number. And if this person is getting a bigger piece, then that means your piece is getting smaller. That's essentially what oftentimes business owners have a tendency to do, is look at a client base in that way. And Kenny, you were saying that not everybody is a competitor. Would you identify the competitors that you actually do have as the ones who are after the same client base as you? Or how would you make that distinction?
Yeah, I think I would. I think I would say that is the distinction, is it's someone but that implies that they are able to identify unapologetically who they're after, which I don't think many small business owners are able to do. I think so many small business owners are fixated on the masses and are trying to be a version of everything to everyone. So I think being able to identify a strong competitor, yes, you are identifying that person selling what I also sell has as checked in of an idea on who they're after as I do on mine, and we're after the same person. That's your competitor.
Sure. So with that logic, then
so many of us have very much fewer competitors than we think we do.
Right. And with that logic, it would show that somebody who doesn't have a honed in perspective of who they're after would see everybody else as their competition.
Well, yes. And why wouldn't you? If you actually think every single person who might buy an ice cream cone is your competitor, then yeah. But if you run a vegan vegan ice cream shop, you probably don't have any real competitors. If you're, you know what I mean? It's not the same thing.
The more you niche, the fewer competitors you actually have, because you start to create a new category for yourself. I think that's what you're getting at. And that, I think, was the difference in how we used to see our competitors and how we see them now. Where, like you mentioned, when we were first starting out, everybody who sold something similar to what we did was seen as, oh, this is a competitor of ours, this is a competitor of ours, this is a competitor of ours. And then as our business grew and as we started to do some intentional things with our business, identifying who it is that we're after, what it is that where our sweet spot is in our market, we carved out this niche of when people want this and when people want us, we are the option for them.
Let's stop talking so vaguely for a second and let's just share with our regulars here about what this actually looks like for our business. Most people that sell custom suits to wear, not soups to eat, soups to wear, not soups to slurp. Most people who do that are, from where we sit, they're focused on selling wedding suits. So that's not necessarily our focus. The other thing that's really common for people to do is to sell custom suits at such a low price point that they're trying to convince people who don't want to spend very much money on a suit that they may as well just spend a little bit extra and get something custom made.
What it is it's a strategic price point that's placed a couple $100 above where a big box retailer is selling their custom product. It's a couple $100 more. The idea being, well, if somebody's interested in what this big box retailer is doing on the custom side, they may be incentivized enough to work with a smaller company where I'm taking them through a better process for only a couple $100 more.
Most of our competitors locally, who we used to think were our competitors, are reaching those people too. So once we identified these clients that we were after, we were very easily able to identify the clients that we were no longer reaching for, which then made it really crystal clear that we actually had very little competition.
And the interesting thing using that fruit tree analogy is when you aim for the high hanging fruit, you're still going to get plenty of low hanging fruit. There's still going to be that fruit that falls down that you can pick up if you want to. But when you're only aiming for the things that are low hanging, that's the only thing that you're ever going to get. So as we strategically changed our business and started going after clients, not customers, clients who we could have relationships with, clients who buy more frequently, clients who spend more, of course, we still have plenty of opportunities to work with that wedding business if we choose to work with them. But it isn't the only thing we're capable of doing because our sights are set on something that's a little bit higher and a little bit more intentional. So as we've found that focus in our business, it has become increasingly obvious to us just who our actual competitors truly are and who our competitors no longer are. Because I would also say that there was a time in our business where some of the competitors we used to have are no longer competitors of ours anymore. But when it comes to actually like comparing, the only way that comparing yourself to somebody else or comparing your business to a different business would be fair to do is if everything that that person or that business has experienced has been totally in line with your experiences and your situations.
Which, just stop right there. Think about that for a second. That tells me that there's very little room for true comparison for any of us. Which is true.
Think about it like we were just talking about with home comps, home comparisons. It has to be a similar square footage. It has to be same or very similar bedroom to bathroom ratio, has to be a similar lot size, has to be sold within the last X number of months in order for it to count. It has to have all of these prerequisites that are very much in line, if not totally identical to what you're doing in order for it to be seen as a true comp. Otherwise, they say, there's no comps for this house. The same is true of yourself or of your business. There are very few true comps out there. But I think so often people and business owners, they get caught up in this comparing themselves to that person who seems really successful, which you already know that it's a highlight reel that you're seeing on Instagram, but you can't help yourself but to look at somebody who's got something going on and compare yourself. You don't know what their circumstances were. You don't know what things looked like as they were growing up. You don't know if they came from more money than you, had a head start on certain things. You don't know that.
This was something we used to do when we were early on in our custom suit business. We were very aware of who was out there, where they were, what they were doing. This was before
what they were charging.
This was before Instagram was as prevalent as it is now. So and our industry in and of itself is one of the oldest industries in the world. I mean, it's like,
we were born in the 1800s.
As you know, we got started in the 1800s. But I mean, you think about custom suits and suits in general. I mean, that's an old industry, just like all the other jobs in the Oregon Trail. But there's a lot of older people doing what we were doing. And when we were just coming up, not only were we young in the business and we were young, but as it related to the industry in general, we were the youngest people in our industry for a while. And we were comparing our business as two guys who were basically broke, who started this ourselves. That's the other thing about our industry is it's very familial. A lot of times people who run businesses took it over from their dad or their grandpa, and it's run in the family for generations. We started ours, and we're comparing our circumstances to people who were 30, 40 years older than us, who'd been in the business for a long, long time and had decades of experience, decades of loyal customers. And we're saying, oh, how come our business doesn't look more like theirs already?
How do they have so many clients?
How come they're charging that? If only we could charge that. But how stupid is that to think that way? It was so silly. And fortunately, we didn't sit in that discontent for long. We were able to harness what we knew we actually were bringing to the table. And I'm really proud of us for early on recognizing our youth and our scrappiness and our creativity and our ability to communicate. And all of those skills that we had, we were able to use those to set ourselves apart and then eventually above a lot of the competitors that we'd identified as competitors that we, again, no longer see that way.
And that's all you can do as a business owner. All you can do is lean into the things that you're great at that make you unique and play offense as opposed to looking at your competitors and playing defense all the time. The whole idea of comparing you and where you're at with somebody else and where they're at, it's just a losing battle. It's just not a fair position for you to be putting yourself in. You're much better off enjoying the place in the journey that you and your business are in, and not necessarily being totally satisfied with that, but just recognizing that this is where I am and this is where I want to go and move accordingly, rather than looking at somebody else and just being in this comparison mode, because that's not going to get you anywhere.
And when you can find contentment in where you're at, and I think oftentimes, especially when it comes to people who are driven, type A leaders, entrepreneurs, they view contentment as a negative because they're associating it with complacency.
It's like a good enough.
Yeah, good enough. That's fine.
Yeah, whatever.
And I'm good. No, I don't want to hear your thoughts. No. I'm good. I don't want to hear it. Ignorance is bliss. That's complacent. But if you're able to find contentment in things about what you do, if you're grinding at your small business, or maybe it's your side hustle still, find contentment in the fact that you're building something and that you're investing in your own future.
One thing that when this job was our side hustle, I still remember every time I would take, this was before we had 3 kids that were making total messes all the time. So I take the garbage out a lot more now. But this was when I would take the garbage out about once a week. And I remember
once a week.
Yeah,
whoa.
I know, it was crazy. We had a long alleyway.
That's nothing.
It was like we would put it off to the side, and I would take like 1 garbage trip a week. But I remember every time I was at the garbage can, I would think to myself, like, I'm 1 week closer to being full-time in this business. And that's not like a big lesson, but that was my way of kind of finding contentment in the journey that I was in.
You were finding, you weren't fixated on the fact that you weren't full-time yet.
Right.
You were finding contentment and joy in that another week had gone by, you're that much closer. And yeah, I think that's a great,
and just acknowledging that, like, I'm on the right path. Like, my plan is still going full-time, and I'm 1 week closer, and I've made progress in that goal too.
Coming out of 2020 was really the first time I remember feeling contentment financially. But up until that point, I remember feeling elements of contentment when we would travel for our job, being so thankful that we could do it, so thankful for the business we built, for the fact that it was, we were a long ways off from feeling really strong financially, but at least we were at a point where we were paying ourselves. We were full-time. It was no longer a side hustle. All of these little things are big things. They're not little things. They're things that most people will never get to do, will never get to accomplish. And as you're growing and building, you need to find the joy and the contentment in that, because if you're so fixated on what someone else is doing on Instagram or what some competitor is doing down the road, you're going to miss out on feeling proud of yourself for what you've done.
And also feel proud that you have competitors. If there are people in your industry, in your market that you actively compete with, feel proud about the fact that you have carved out a place in your market.
Yeah, they know your name. Someone asks them about you. They know all about you. Other people are finding you in addition to them. That's not nothing.
And whenever we see text that we wrote on other custom clothiers' websites, it's like, hey, listen, we're playing offense. We wrote it. They're playing defense. They're ripping it and either creating the antithesis of it and putting it on theirs, or they're putting it word for word on their website. Like, that's a great position to be in. I'm very content in this place because I have a place in this market. And ultimately, competition is a good thing. Competition is a great thing. You need it. When we first got a 5-star hotel here in Minneapolis, I went a couple times to the restaurant and it's like, I think we need another one. I think we need another one.
Yes.
Just to keep this one on its toes.
Yeah.
I think the Four Seasons could use a little bit of maybe that Ritz-Carlton push.
Yeah, let's bring the Ritz here. Let's
light the fire, the Waldorf Astoria fire.
Let's get a Peninsula, St. Regis, a Langham. Let's get them over here.
But it's a good thing. Competition is a good thing. You need it to justify what you do. And in what you do, find the contentment in that, because there is so much freedom in being content while yet striving for more. I mean, obviously, we are nowhere near where we want to be end goal wise, but I don't really know what the end goal is either. That's allowed to change.
Mm-hmm.
What you want is allowed to change. And there was a time in our business where it's like, man, we just want a place at the table.
Yeah, we just want to be among the top. We want to be
well,
seen
first it
as
was,
a
I just
serious-
want to be full-time.
Yeah.
That was the first one. It was like these bite-sized chunks.
As business owners, you do, and I'm saying you because I mean me, we all end up moving the goalposts, and you get to the end zone and then you move it again, and then you move it again. And I think what happens is we don't stop long enough for that touchdown celebration. And we don't think about what we just accomplished. We're so busy because life goes on. The world keeps turning. The needs keep popping up. You're needed elsewhere. You don't have a lot of time to sit and feel accomplished all the time.
Well, and what are you going to do? Go out to dinner and spend your hard-earned money from the business?
Right. I mean, you got to keep it realistic, but contentment is one of those things. It's elusive, but it doesn't have to be, and it should not be reserved for only the biggest goals and accomplishments you've ever had, because you don't have a boss giving you a raise. You don't have a performance review coming in and patting you on the back. You're not going to get a shout out as employee of the month in the company newsletter. All you have is yourself. And if you don't celebrate you, nobody will. And that's lonely.
And if you allow yourself to live in this constant if this happens, then I'll be happy. Or if this happens, then I'll do this. Then you're never going to find the enjoyment and the fulfillment that comes with being a business owner. Maybe not that you never will, but it feels so far away, where there are so many things I'm sure that you've accomplished that are worth celebrating. And as it relates to your competitors, just do your thing. Just do your thing. Be aware of them. I'm sure you already are. But don't fixate on what they're doing.
Be respectful of them.
Be respectful of them. Here's another thing. Don't badmouth them. If people ask you about your competitors, don't badmouth them. That doesn't say anything positive about you. All it does is it puts a bad taste in the person who asks mouth. Even if they're trying to get you to spill the tea. We have this happen with us all the time. People come to us from somebody else and they're like, "Oh, what do you think of this place?" It's like, yeah, they're fine. But you're here for a reason, right? All right, let's get started.
The other reason it doesn't make any sense to fixate on your competitors, and this is neither here nor there, but you also don't know what their goal is.
Right.
So, but you know what your goal is. I know what mine is. So I can't really compare, because we don't know why they're doing those things. All we can do is see from the outside what they're doing, and we can make assumptions of what their goals are or aren't, but we have no real idea.
It makes much more sense to just focus on what you're doing, how you're doing it, how you're speaking to your target customer so that you can be playing more offense than defense. And I mean, that's a really great point about you don't know what they want. You don't know why they're doing the things that they're doing. So why would you be fixated on them?
Because some people, their goal is to be busy.
Their goal is to have a full day every day.
And that's not my goal. So if I'm looking down the road at some other person doing what I do and they're way busier than me because their prices are so much lower, well, great. They're getting what they want. I'm getting what I want. We're good.
Win-win.
We're not doing the same thing at all. A lot of us actually have a lot fewer competitors than we thought we did, because the smaller your niche, the tighter it is, the more focused it is, the more honed in who you're after and how unapologetic you are to get that, the less competition you actually have.
And as it relates to competition in general, I think as business owners, it is so easy to see it as a bad thing. It is so easy to be frustrated by the fact that you have it and just to be so annoyed that, like, there are people around who are saying negative things about you. That bugs me even today as I'm saying this. I know that there are other custom clothiers in our market who, when our name comes up, they say, "Oh, those guys are, bullshit artists," or "Those guys are whatever they're saying."
Fill in the blank.
Fill in the blank.
Negative,
on what they're
negative
saying.
thing. You fill in the gaps.
A lot of negative things I'm sure are being said, but it could be so easy to focus on that. But ultimately, there is enough for everybody. We're not working off of this preset pie chart. And if somebody else has a client, that means it's a client I no longer get to work with. Our pie chart looks different because it's like, this is the pie chart of my target demographic. And so it's not that everybody gets slices of a pie that's predetermined. And if I'm getting full and somebody else is starving, it doesn't work that way. This is business, and vice versa. There are so many clients out there that are working with the other people in town that are actively choosing not to work with us because our language doesn't speak to them. Our competitors' language does, and they want to work with them. That's what makes the world go round.
All right, regulars, thanks a lot. What I can tell
They're
you
like,
about,
thanks for what?
What I can tell you about competition is we've got a lot of it here on Apple, on podcasts.
No, we don't care about competition. We're telling this to ourselves. This was
This was for us.
This was the podcast we needed to hear.
It kind of was for us though, because if we would have heard this podcast 15 years ago,
it would have been awesome.
We would have spent a lot less time focusing on stupid stuff. And we would have jump-started our own contentment, which would have been really nice.
And we've said this before to you regulars out there. You don't need our permission for anything.
No.
But if you're looking for a little bit of confirmation to just do your thing and stop being focused on what other people are doing and them doing their thing, if you need that permission, consider this that. Consider this your time to get that pat on the back that you've been looking for, to just focus on what you can control, because there's so much that you can't. But as it relates to your business, there's a lot that you can't.
I don't remember how old we were. For sure, it was, elementary school, fifth grade, fourth grade, maybe. Rally day. You ready to go back?
Rally day.
Let's
do it.
So Rally day, for those of you who are unfamiliar, was basically a track and field day where you're too young to actually be on a track team. So the school competes against other. Is this a private school thing?
I think it's a private school thing. My kids, it's not called Rally Day, but it's called, I think it's called like Track and Field Day. Field Day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe
this is the thing.
Because when we went to a small Christian school in Wilmer, Minnesota, and we would compete against the other Christian schools in the state. So it was a smaller thing, but apparently it is universal. So it was at our Rally Day. We had a kid in the grade above us. His name was Jim. And Jim was fast. He was very fast. He was actually the ringer, and nobody saw it coming because he was very unassuming looking. But
I think he even had glasses.
Yeah, it was like one of those movies where it's like, well, the kid with glasses can't possibly be a
The
good athlete.
supermodel takes her glasses off and it's
Yeah.
like, whoa, she's hot.
Well, despite the glasses, Jim was very, very fast. And he was the anchor of the relay team because they knew it didn't really matter. As long as they were, not a full lap behind, Jim was going to take it home. So the team is towards the end of the race. Jim gets the baton. He's in the lead, but not by a lot. He's in the lead by a little bit. The next team is, I don't know how many yards behind him, but they're not far behind him, but Jim is fast, remember? So Jim's going to win. They get to that final, I don't know if it's like 50 yards. It's
meters in track and field.
Okay, thank you. 50 meters. And Jim is trucking along. He's looking straight ahead, but then Jim makes a big mistake and he looks behind him. He wonders how far ahead he is and if he's going to win the race.
He knows he's ahead. He just doesn't know how far ahead. So he looks behind him.
And in that time that it took Jim to look behind him to see where his competition was, that person was looking straight ahead and passed him and won. And Jim lost because Jim looked behind him because he was worried about his competition. Jim lost. And Jim, if you're listening, we're not over it.
You loser.
I am so pissed at you, Jim.
I hate you, Jim. I hate you.
You thought we'd forget? We never forget that
never
you lost
forget.
Rally Day.
These steel trap memories of ours, I hate you.
Isn't that a great analogy, though?
It is a good analogy. There's only certain things that you're in control of. Lean into those things and be aware of the rest, but don't fixate on the rest.
If you have a topic you'd like us to cover, please send us a DM, Appointment Only Pod on Instagram. Please feel free to send us your business questions as well. If there's something you'd like us to answer here on the podcast, if there's something you're going through in your business with a customer, a client, a business partner, pricing, whatever it is, thank you so much for showing up to your appointment. We will catch you for your next one.